Citizens speak out. People across the globe continue to stand up for improved living conditions and democratic principles, often braving reprisal to speak up for their rights and those of others in countries that include Iraq, Libya, Palestine, Syria, United Kingdom and Yemen.
Inspired by the peaceful revolutions in Tunisia and Egypt, youth in Palestine continue using social media such as Facebook to call for an end to the division between the Palestinian Hamas and Fatah groups.
According to several media sources, Monday's approval by the Israeli government of 4 new settlements in the West Bank, with possibly 900 more housing units to be built in East Jerusalem, was met by a warning from the French Foreign Ministry that such actions are not only in violation of international law, but also represent an obstacle to peace. On Monday, April the 4th, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad appointed Mohammad Khaled al-Hannus as the new governor of the restive province of Daraa, although protesters reiterated calls for the end of martial law and oppression by security services, as well as for detainees to be freed, property rights to be respected, and freedom of expression. Also, on Monday, people in the semi-autonomous region of Iraqi Kurdistan protested in the tens of thousands to demand greater government financial accountability, as well as safety, social justice and democracy. According to China's Xinhua news agency, a group of 10 Taliban members in Afghanistan's Kunduz province relinquished their weapons and joined the central government's peace process, where they have been promised jobs and opportunities to contribute to the region's goals of improved harmony and security.
In the United Kingdom, where large protests have already erupted over cost-cutting plans announced by the government, people living on disability benefits have been told their claims will be reassessed to see if they are capable of returning to work. Many who are too ill to work have expressed fear they may unjustly have their benefits revoked. Recognising that those most at risk are too unwell and lack the financial resources to protest, Kalia Franklin and Ridian von James have created the website The Broken of Britain, using various social media to inform others about the proposed disability changes, as well as to communicate the issues of the disabled to Parliament members. Meanwhile, controversial proposed reductions in the National Health Service, including the abolishment of primary healthcare trusts, have been put on hold.
In Yemen, Al Jazeera reports that the government's efforts to quash the peaceful protest movement is actually strengthening the resolve of citizens to continue calling for change. The protesters have also begun appealing for the European Union and the US to help intervene before more lives are lost.
In Taiz, tens of thousands of protesters calling for reforms and regime change on Tuesday were attacked by troops, with hundreds injured, while 3 more people lost their lives and 15 others were wounded that same day when tribes loyal to the regime clashed with government forces backing the protesters in Sana'a.
Citing officials in both the US and Yemen, the New York Times reports that the US has begun quiet negotiations with the Yemeni government to bring about a peaceful transfer of power that will help meet the reform conditions desired by the people.
Following months of conflict, an airstrike on Monday night in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, initiated by UN and French forces to stop attacks on civilians, prompted several generals for incumbent President Laurent Gbagbo to begin negotiating his surrender with forces loyal to President Alassane Ouattara, the internationally recognized leader based on national elections last November.
President Gbagbo, who also requested United Nations protection, has been staying in an underground bunker of his residence in Abidjan after the presidential palace was taken over on Tuesday by troops supporting President Ouattara.
In Libya, Information Minister Musa Ibrahim announced the government is willing to negotiate reforms, stating that it will support the transition to any political system, constitutional change, elections or referendum, while insisting that decisions about whether leader Colonel Muammar Gaddafi and his sons remain in power or in the country should be voted on by the Libyan people, not dictated from abroad.
Al Jazeera and 2 Arab newspapers cited various sources stating that Colonel Muammar Gaddafi had offered a proposal to the Revolutionary Citizens National Interim Council in which he said he would step down and leave the country with his family in exchange for not being prosecuted.
Revolutionary representatives for the National Transition Council in Benghazi stated that they probably would not be able to trust the government given their experience of the violence against innocent civilians and were therefore not interested in negotiations.
They also rejected the offer from Colonel Gaddafi, saying that to allow him to avoid accountability would not do justice to those who lost their lives due to government actions.
The Italian government has meanwhile announced its recognition of the National Transition Council, set up by members of the pro-democracy movement, as the legitimate government of the Libyan people.
Turkish Foreign Minister Ahmet Davutoglu also stated that his country would be willing to mediate the conflict, with an immediate ceasefire being top priority and an ultimate goal of peaceful resolution. While deeply saddened by the irreplaceable loss of life, we pray for the ceasing of conflict in all nations, with citizens choosing to live side by side in shared security, freedom and peace.
In sorrowful response to these unfortunate world events, Supreme Master Ching Hai lovingly reminds, "If the road is wrong, the more we walk on it, the more we go wrong. Any leaders who committed harm to others should stop at once, sincerely repent to God, and act to redeem their mistaken deeds. Then they will be pardoned, even if humans can't forgive. Heaven will."